you to put that to good use.
Another tourist. Just do me a favor and stay out of trouble. It's hard enough dealing with our own sick and injured. Great! Another tourist. Let me guess. You slipped on the ice and need a doctor to wrap your sprained ankle? I appreciate that you're trying to set me at ease, but that might as well be the same. Sorry for how I responded. It's not you, it's me. I'm just frustrated about all the non-native people I need to treat when our own still need help. Anyway, what can I do for you? I don't. They make a mockery of New Homestead culture. And on top of it, they're reckless. It's like I said before, I feel like I'm treating them more often than our own people. Actually, maybe there is. I have an idea that may be best suited for someone relatively unknown instead of myself. I've got a mountain of work and a reputation to maintain. So I bought a realistic monster costume. The plan was to wear it, scare tourists away, and start a rumor about terrible creatures living on Titan. I figure that once word gets around, tourism will take enough of a dive to give me some relief. Oh, good. I was hoping not to have to do it myself, so I'm glad to have a volunteer. Here's the costume. I think this will work best on the surface, so just find a group and run up to them, acting like a convincing alien monster. With any luck, they'll run screaming and book the next flight out of here. Don't be afraid to do whatever you can to make that monster feel extra convincing. Just don't hurt anyone. It's a harsh world, but as long as you're inside or wear a suit when going out, you'll be fine here. There's no breathable air on the surface, and you'll quickly freeze to death outside without protective gear, but otherwise the hazards are minimal. New Homestead was an early colony research base and has stood the test of time. It's safe, and it's proof that people can live pretty much anywhere. Don't worry so much. I bought it from a private seller. They said they got it from someone who wore it in a secondary school as their sports team mascot. I guess it was supposed to be a tardigrade or something. Anyway, the person I bought it from modified it a bit so they could use it in an independent movie they were making. But I guess that went nowhere, so they had to sell it. Lucky me, I suppose. Even though we don't have shiny new medical facilities, I imagine it's easier than wherever you're from. We have fewer people here, and we're very responsible when it comes to our personal health and welfare. So there's not much I can't handle. For anything else, we can get access to off-world specialists. Contrary to popular belief, we're not primitive. Try to be careful out there.
Lots of history here, if you're into that sort of thing.
Sure would be nice to get off-world sometime.
Those folks in Sidonia may be closer to Earth, but we do a better job preserving its traditions. I can really go for some of Anya's cooking. You get used to the methane processing smell after a while.
Thanks for saying what you said to me. That was really good advice.
We used to get more tourists than we do these days.
Have any questions so far? Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. The original Titan astrobase had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
This is a boring assignment, but let's keep it that way.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled, the perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony.
Running this farm with my family for the sake of our little colony is one of...
Any questions about the farms? Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet. These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hearty root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there. They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan astrobase. Sadly, they're undergoing some light renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here.
Anywhere else.
Enjoy your visit here.
Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan astrobase biolabs. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to mention that. That's what this place was originally called. When NASA divested its interest in the astrobase and turned it over to the people back in 2185, they renamed it New Homestead and established it as a historical site. Funny you should ask. Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage. Sure thing. Keep in mind the Biolabs exhibit is closed for visitors, but I'll be waiting if you need a minute anyway. Pardon the dust, but you got it. On to our next stop. Next, we'll be heading outside, so make sure to check those seals on your suit because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary.
Generating energy was a real challenge back in the day because the technology was much more crude then. But crude or not, it was that technology that sustained the old Astrobase. And it might surprise you to learn that the same technology is still working today. The interesting thing about this old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right, New Homestead's famous wind farm. This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, the altitude and other conditions are perfect for sustained wind power. Like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you go, the windier it gets. You're looking at a piece of history. Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it for hundreds of years. It's impressive that was all they had back then, and still make it work to this day. Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're the boss. Let's go. Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of the stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world. Oh, of course, stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. Jim is gorgeous. Oh, I don't know what you'd call it. Creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They have this whole moon here basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled system. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions.